Kia ora whānau and flock. Kia ora whānau. So today is Mother's Day, and it's an important day for all of us. Everybody that's taking a breath right now is here because of their mother. And I just want to add our piece to it, and I know every church is going to be honouring the mothers and the grandmothers and women of this nation today, and just honouring them on who they are and what they do and what they carry. So yeah, today I'm going to honour my mother, and when you think about the word mother, I believe you start thinking about things like this. And I've written down a few things. This is what comes to mind. A mother is a protector, a disciplinarian, and a friend. A mother is selfless, loving human who must sacrifice many of their wants and needs for the wants and needs of their children. A mother works hard to make sure that their child is equipped with the knowledge and skills and abilities to make it as a competent human being in this world. Being a mother is perhaps the hardest, most rewarding job a woman can ever experience. And I believe that's what we think of when we hear the word mother. That's what it conjures up in our mind. And man, I get to talk about my mother today, and I'm going to honour her today and what she did for me. My mother, she was a beautiful woman. She's been dead 26 years this year. I get quite emotional thinking about it. And because 26 years ago, we had her in this church. I was going to do this Brotherhood service today at Marae down the road, but I felt fitting to come here again and to do it in the church where my mother came to after leaving the Marae when she had passed away, and bringing her here. So 26 years ago, this December the 20th, she'd been gone. Her name was Rangitoa Te Koha, and what that means is, her name means the sky that mourns. And boy, there was a lot of mourning going when she left this earth. She was a devoted Christian, and she carried herself as such. Always carried herself correctly as a Christian woman with full faith in Jesus Christ. And then she got blessed with a guy like me as her son. And that was far from my walk. But what I'm going to talk about is what my mother was for me. And this is how it goes. My mother loved me unconditionally. And the word's agape. It's in the Bible. Unconditional love. She gave me unconditional love of a mother. And when I think back about her, when I was sick, she was the one nursing me. When I was in trouble, she was the one there for me. When I was in prison, she was the one that came and visited me. When I used to go to court, which was regular, really regular. When I used to look back in the court to see who was there for me, there was my mother. My mother was always there for me. And it didn't matter what I'd done. It didn't matter anything. None of that mattered to her. What mattered to her that I was her son. And she loved me no matter what. Sounds Christ-like. Sounds like what Jesus did for all of us. And believe me, Christian, and that's what she says when I say about my mother, she was a Christian, which means to be Christ-like. This is exactly what she carried. Unconditional love for her son. And, it's really humbling now, because I was young before my mother passed away, and I didn't really understand any of this stuff. All I understood was my own wants and my own needs and everything else like that. And what happens is, now that I'm older and I've got children, and my children are in their 20s, now I fully get what my mother was doing. Was just caring about us and praying for us so that we reach our full potential. And, every week my mother would come and see me in prison. Every time in court, she'd be in the courtroom, always just sitting there praying for me. What happened to me one time was I had a motorbike accident And in that motorbike accident, it was a hit and run. I was hit by the police. Two off-duty cops. Anyway, they hit me head on my motorbike and they left me on the road. I broke 25 bones in my body with this bike accident. I was left on the road, I was dying. And I had somebody on the bike with me, a girl that was on the bike with me. She was out to a broken leg, broken arm, punctured lung, and a burst kidney. I was lying on the ground and all I could hear was her screaming. I couldn't even talk. But what went through my mind at the time was, how's my mother going to take this? And then I passed out. What happened was, I didn't pass out, I went into a coma. I was in a coma for over 3 weeks. And like I said, I'd broken every bone in the right hand side of my body. And the crazy thing is, I died on the way to hospital. When I did get picked up off the road and were put in the ambulances, I died on the way to the ambulance. This is the second time I died at this stage of my life. And so I was in hospital. I was in a coma for 3 weeks. I could see the right hand side of my face with my left eye, I could look across it. Because this side of my eye was gone, it was swollen over. I had a fractured skull. When I came to, my mother was sitting right next to me with her hands on me, praying for me. I couldn't talk, I couldn't say anything. I lost the ability to be able to speak. Something had happened in my brain that I couldn't speak any longer. It took months for my speech to come back, to learn how to talk again. Man, I've always been a mouth, I've been a motor mouth all my life. And the last thing I'd ever have trouble was speaking. Well, believe me, I'd lost the ability to speak because of what had happened. When I was in my coma, they were saying to my mother, he's going to probably come out with serious brain damage. And I know some of you out there thinking I've got brain damage anyhow, but that was really serious. They were thinking that there's no way I'm going to get out of this without suffering quite serious brain damage. And my mother was there every day. I was in the hospital for 4 months. My mother was praying for me every day. I was in the ICU for 9 weeks, intensive care unit. And she continued to pray for me. In the end, Mum was praying for everybody in the ICU. She couldn't help it. But she kept saying, you're going to be all right, son. You're going to be all right, son. I could hear her. I could understand what she was saying. She says, oh, you're going to be a fine, son. And I wasn't really sure. I didn't really care at the time. To be honest, I really didn't care whether I lived or died. I was just worried about my mother and how she was going to take my death. Anyway, she come and seen me the day, a wee while after I'd come out of my coma, and I was getting really stressed about the ability to not be able to talk and knowing what I wanted to say but not being able to get it out. And she just continuously kept comforting me about the predicament I was in. And it really did work for me because I had nothing else. I truly had nothing else. If you're not a Christian, you don't really have a lot to draw on. I was drawing on the strength and the belief of my mother. The doctors continually kept saying to my mother, in earshot of me, he's really going to suffer here. We'll do tests on him, but there wasn't a lot of brain action. And some of the scans I went in. When they did these scans on my brain, they would come out to see my mother. And they said, you're not going to believe this, but the fracture of your son's skull, where his swelling of his brain is happening, that has released the pressure of my brain being damaged, being pushed up against the skull. They said, and in actual fact, his fracture of his skull is a blessing. We believe he could be all right. And my mother said to me, was saying to me, even though I couldn't speak, I told you, son, the Lord has this. The Lord has you. And, you know, I was in there a long time. Like I said, I was in there 4 months and a lot of broken bones. And, you know, I did heal okay. I ended up having seizures because of the knock to my brain. And, you know, I suffer from mental health issues anyway. You know, all different types of mental health issues. But, yeah, it did really knock me back a lot. But my mother stayed with me the whole time. And this is what our mothers do. They're there for our children when we're sick, when we're in need. They're always there for us. They don't leave us. And man, I thought I was a pretty hard man at the time too. But boy, I'm thankful I had my mother there praying for me. Even then, and I didn't walk that way. But I just knew what she was doing was carrying something for me. That I was going to probably come out of this all right. Because of my mother's faith. And if I didn't have that mother, I didn't have anybody else there praying for me. I don't have anybody else in my team. And I know that all of the things that have happened in my life now that have changed me to become a man of Christ and a righteous man of God was all down to the fact that my mother continuously prayed for me. I always encourage mothers to keep praying for their children, keep praying for them, because our prayers will get answered. You know, my mother never got to see the blessings that came to me in my life when I became a Christian. You know, my mother's been dead. She was dead over 22, 23 years by the time I changed my life. She never got to see the fruits of her prayers. But believe me, I know that she's with the Lord right now, and she sees me and sees what's happening now, and I know that she's proud of me. But she never got to see those fruits, and boy, would I love to have sat with my mother, truly love to have sat with my mother, and had time with her now that I walk differently, now that I'm reachable, now that I'm no longer broken, now that I'm no longer lost, because that's what it was. I was lost and broken. And it wasn't until the Lord came into my life, and I know that was my mother's prayers that brought him to me and covered me and got me through all these dark situations I've been in my life. And so that's why I'm here to honour my mother. It's Mother's Day, and I think about my mother and pray for her and pray for everybody in our family daily. But today's a special day that we can set aside a day and honour our mothers. That's me honouring my mother and what she's done for me. You know, I'm just thankful, so thankful for my mother. I've also got here, when a mother prays, it says this, when a mother prays. This is written by a lady called Karen Isabel, who's a Christian, and this is her interpretation of what happens when a mother prays. It says this: motherhood is messy. When she prays, she invites God into the brokenness and the mess to work in the hearts of her children, like only she can. We can't control their salvation or their obedience, every choice they make or circumstance, but we can partner with God and ask Him to move in their lives. My mother partnered with God to get Him to change my life. They partnered. But I've died 3 times, clinically died 3 times in my life, and I'm still here. And I wasn't a Christian in any of those times, but I know it's reaping the rewards of those ancestral blessings that go well down before I got to my age. Because there is an ability to reap the ancestral blessings. That's why I'm praying into my children and my grandchildren's life. And I haven't even got any. I'm praying into that now, because all prayers get answered. We've got to remember that. Another scripture I've got here is Proverbs 31, 25 to 30. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all. It's quite a touching verse that I was reading it this morning. But I'm in no illusion. My life now is how it is because of the prayers of a desperate mother's cry. Rangi tau te koha. Her prayers got answered. She was crying out to the Lord all the time, and I'm sad that I put my mother through what I put her through, because I know it wasn't easy. I'm actually quite ashamed of my behaviour and my lifestyle that my mother watched and was always there, sad, watching her son on this lost path of track of brokenness. You know, when she passed away, I was even deeper into darkness. When my twins passed away the year later, even deeper. I never thought that there was ever going to be a way out of this. There was no way I could see myself ever getting out of the life that I had. But my mother's prayers got answered, and the Lord came and got me. So I hope that somebody can get something from today, and just loving on your mothers, all of you that still have them. Because remember, you're only here because of them. And they only want the best for you in your life. And by honouring them, we walk well. That's how we honour our mothers. Sounds good for me to say it to you guys now, because I didn't do it, but now I know better. The only way to honour our mother is by walking well. So I'm going to leave you with that, and I've got to say a quick prayer, and we'll leave it at that for today. So let's bow our heads. Lord, I just want to thank you for all of our mothers today, that they have a day of peace with loved ones around them, and their prayers are answered to keep their children and their families out of harm's way and to be blessed by you. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.